First preseason game is in the books for the Montreal Canadiens at the Bell Center, and they come away with a 2-1 win versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not a lot of goals in this game. The Canadiens end up winning in a shootout, but no shortage of chances and no shortage of opportunities for young players knocking on the door. How did they do? You'll find out in a couple of minutes, because I'm coming up on the Sick Podcast Habs postgame show, and my guest, of course, tonight, as he will be throughout the entire season after Montreal Canadiens hockey games, Pierre McGuire, coming up in just a couple of minutes.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight.
audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, September the 22nd. And special thanks to all of our sponsors. The Montreal Canadiens win tonight in the first preseason game by a score of 2-1 in a shootout. To tell you the truth, for only 2 goals that were scored in regulation, a pretty exciting hockey game tonight. There's a lot to talk about. I look forward to it with Pierre McGuire, who's going to join me in, once again, just a couple of minutes. Not before I talk to you about Energy Transportation Group, one of our sponsors. They're a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different, from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, they're reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also want to give a shout out to the Geloso Beverage Group and Bittt Tibi. As you see behind me in that fridge, they launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days, with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. And I want to tell you that tonight, as he will be for the entire season, Pierre McGuire is brought to you by Vago.
The McGuire Report. Presented by Vago Italian.
And Vago has been open 23 years. As a matter of fact, I was there on Saturday night, just so you know, with my wife and my eldest, Anthony. Longevity, not many restaurants open that long. Private dining rooms for any occasions, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings. Plenty of free parking after 6 p.m. Open Monday to Saturday evenings, lunch Tuesday to Friday. Fresh quality ingredients, old world Italian classics, and new Italian. That's where it all comes together. Come see Tommaso, the most popular man in Westmount. He'll be at the front of the house. Also ask for Nico, the waiter, if he's there, because he's a pretty funny guy and he's a pretty nice guy, but they're all very nice and they're all pretty funny. Actually saw a buddy of mine, Maury, that was there a couple nights ago as well. So hello to Maury. Pierre McGuire, how are you?
I'm so excited, Tony, to get this thing going for this season. It's going to be a great year for the Montreal Canadiens, their fans, and I just can't wait to get going with you.
I should keep this to the end, but if a lot of people didn't understand the Jacob Fowler hype that you've been bringing to the program and to the Sick Podcast, the eye test over the last couple of years. Pierre, I know some people are going to say it's a preseason game. The horses weren't there. But look, far from being a goaltending expert, I'm going to say this. Some of the movements and the calm, the poise, it just doesn't lie, Pierre. It doesn't lie.
No, you can only play against the people that are on the other side, and that's what he had to do tonight. He was calm, cool, and collected in the shootout. He got beat on a really nice move by Tristan Braz, But outside of that, I thought he was fantastic. The thing that really impressed me about him was he was unflappable right from the start. He had to come up with some pretty big saves. There was a great 2-on-1 save late in the game where you're like, wow, that's pretty spectacular in overtime. So, no, I'm not surprised by what he's doing. I thought there was a lot of good stuff from Montreal. I thought there was some stuff that obviously needs work. It's the first preseason game, and I think there's some players that could show a little bit more urgency. But I was really encouraged by what I saw from Montreal.
And Pierre, that's why people are watching tonight, and that's why more and more people are going to watch with every day, every show, every podcast, and every game, because you're going to tell them who could have brought a little bit more urgency, and you're going to tell them what area or areas of the game the Montreal Canadiens can actually clean up, okay? So we're going to get to that in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to do so with Pierre McGuire. Okay, first and foremost, why don't we bring up the roster for the Montreal Canadiens tonight? All right, so we have Evans with Gallagher and Anderson. Pierre, that line, okay, last year the Canadiens had Evans with Heineman and with Armia, and they had Dvorak with Gallagher and Anderson. So Marty St. Louis, I think, doing the logical thing to do, he says, hold on a second here. He says, Evans lost both his line mates. Gallagher and Anderson, who worked together and had a very good year, lost their line mate in Dvorak. Why don't I just put Evans, who's got a similar game to Dvorak, in between Gallagher and Anderson, and the other line, which is going to be quote-unquote the fourth line, is going to be a line of brand new players who have probably never played together before, and we'll put them together. Or maybe this is the fourth line and the other line becomes the third line. Doesn't really matter, but your thoughts on Evans, Gallagher, and Anderson together?
I thought Jake was really solid, especially key face-off times. I didn't like the undisciplined play from Josh Anderson, but again, it's a preseason game. There was some, stuff where he's trying to assert himself physically. I know that they were probably trying to get under his skin. Brendan is what he is. He competed. He was good on the boards. You can see he's not a top 6 forward anymore, but he's a very useful player, and he's a true leader.
He definitely is, Pierre. And once again, he was there. He was on the power plays. He was getting his nose dirty in the front of the net. Here's a guy, I think broke a couple of fingers or maybe even a hand on maybe a couple of occasions, I think, over the past several years with the Montreal Canadiens, where in front of the net, and he ends up getting the puck off the hand on a couple of occasions. What does this guy do? He goes back to the front of the net because he only knows how to play one way, Pierre. All right. Here's the big story. The big story is most people expect Kirby Dach to start the season in between Demidov and Laine. Marty St. Louis told us that Kirby Dach, of course, will not play all the preseason games, but he should be able to get in a preseason game because the schedule they have for him is him to get in at least a game and to start the regular season when the Canadiens open up their season on Wednesday, the 8th of October in Toronto. But for now, there's going to be players who are going to be getting an audition. What a great opportunity Oliver Kapanen was presented with tonight, Pierre. Here's a guy who played 18 games with the Montreal Canadiens last year, ended up playing, I think, 36 games in Sweden, and I think he was back to play about 13 games in the playoffs for the Laval Rocket. How did you think Kapanen did tonight, Pierre, on the offensive side of the puck, on the defensive side of the puck? They used him on the power play. They used him on the penalty kill. Your thoughts on the game that he had?
And he scored the winning goal in the shootout on a brilliant move because he was sitting on the bench watching everybody else go. And Sergei Murashov was playing great in goal for Pittsburgh, and Kapanen made a beautiful move, a real heady, cerebral play. I thought he was a really smart player all night. I thought he was calm, cool, and collected with the puck. I thought defensively he was very aware. I didn't think it was a great night for Demidov, even though he showed flashes of brilliance. I thought Laine was great in the first period, and then after that, his game kind of tailed off a little bit. But I thought Kapanen was a guy who was really the one constant on that line the entire game. I thought he was really, really good.
Pierre, Demidov loves to do stuff with the puck. Obviously, he has no shortage of confidence when he has the puck on his stick. He likes to dangle. A lot of players around the league, Pierre, they're taking notes. They see that he's been dangling. They saw that he was dangling last year. They saw that he was dangling this year, based on certain highlights that they saw in the prospects game and stuff like that. And if he holds onto the puck a lot, he's going to get hit. If he dangles people and they feel embarrassed, he's going to get hit. Even though the plan is Dach with Demidov and Laine, we saw tonight that when Demidov got hit on a couple of occasions, that it would be good to have a guy like Josh Anderson on his line every now and then to spot him, to give him confidence, to tell the other team, hey, don't touch this kid. Not to say that Josh is Jack the Giant Killer, but we saw him defend himself really well last year. Not only that, we saw him impose himself in a fight in the regular season versus Tom Wilson. Pierre, your thoughts on Demidov and his willingness to do stuff, to hold on to the puck, to dangle, and the fact that other players, other teams are going to try to hit him, and they're going to try and hurt him, and they're going to try and intimidate him, Pierre.
I agree with everything you just said. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I've drawn up a lot of game plans to play against a lot of star players in the league. And that's one of the things you do. And you show your guys, especially the guys that are physical presence, what this guy does, what his tendencies are, how you break him down. There was a sequence in the game tonight where he was working in a one-on-one against Tommy Novak behind the net. Novak's not known for his defensive abilities. And you could see Demidov could create separation against Tommy Novak. But there were other situations where he was up against a guy like Dumba, who's a pretty solid one-on-one defender, and there was nothing going. And Dumba's, whether he's a top 6 or a number 7 on a really good team, he's still an NHL caliber defenseman. So you could see that there's a big difference when he's going against top-end NHL players. I like your thought about potentially having somebody to soften it up for him. A Josh Anderson would be a good fit there. And it's not like you have to do it all the time. You got to send the message. But he's going to be in for a year of adjustment because, Tony, you just said it and said it well. People are going to zero in on him, and he's going to have to get used to it.
And, Pierre, a lot of people watching and some people who will be listening tomorrow are probably going to be saying, hold on a second here. Josh Anderson can't play with Demidov. They don't see the game the same way. They just won't have chemistry, this, that, or whatever. That's besides the point, right? We're not saying that it has to be a full-time thing, and we're not saying he has to play with them. He has to go out there every now and then on a short shift, maybe throw his size around, and then just say to the opposition, don't touch this kid, because every now and then the coach will put me on the same line with him, and when I am, you're not going to touch him, and when I'm not, don't touch him, because I'm going to jump over the boards and I'm going to come after you type of thing. So, right, Pierre, it's not something you can have full-time. We realize that, and but it's something that, like you said, every now and then, if the need arises, he's got to go out for a quick skate. Josh does. Yeah,
we had a guy on our team in Pittsburgh named Rick Tocchet, and a lot of people thought he was a third-line player, and he should have been playing with Brian Trottier and Troy Loney. And our coach is the winningest coach of all time, Scotty Bowman, and he put him with Mario Lemieux and Kevin Stevens. And he did it for a reason. Rick was a good player, but Rick also made sure that nobody went near Mario or Kevin, and they didn't. And we won 11 straight games to win the Stanley Cup. No team's ever done it before, and no team's done it since. And Tocchet was a big part of it.
Wow. All right. Okay. Let's get back to the Canadiens lines, Pierre, if we can. And here we have it. Beck with Michar and Farrell, which obviously is a line that most people are thinking will be a line for Laval. And so will Condotta, Belzile, and Davidson. On defense, Matheson and Dobson, which we've seen together in pro camp. Matheson on the left, of course, being a lefty, and Dobson on the right, being a righty. Struble on the left, Engstrom on the right, Del Gaizo on the left, and Klerman on the right. And Montembeault played a little bit more than half of the game, and Jacob Fowler played the rest of the game. Pierre, I want to get back to that second line of Kapanen, Demidov, and Liney. You said of the three, the one who you think probably was the most consistent, the one who probably showed a little bit more, the one who probably had most impact on the game of the three was Kapanen. Liney moves better, Pierre, than he moved a year ago. He's talked about being healthy for the first time in a long time. But at the same time, he, on the power play, which is where he's supposed to establish himself, he wasn't able to do it tonight. What did you see, Pierre?
No Lane Hutson is what I saw. No Lane Hutson on the power play is a big problem. And look, it's early, so please don't. And this is for the viewers out there. I know you won't, Tony. Dobson's going to be a good player for this team. He didn't have a great night tonight. He was adequate at best. And the power play didn't get anything done. Big reason it didn't get anything done is it was stalled.
This is why I say, and I like Dobson, and I shut down all of those who always talk to me about what he can't do and his faults, because I think what he can do and his strengths far outweigh the stuff that he isn't or he can't do, okay? Having said that, this is why I've said, and I know that you've echoed my sentiments, I know that Noah Dobson has 6 years in the National Hockey League, and I know that Lane Hutson has 1. And I know that a lot of people will view them differently and say that they have different situations at this stages of their careers. And Hutson can wait for his money because this, that, and whatever, and all that stuff. But I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. Noah Dobson can't do the things that Lane Hutson does, and he can't impact the hockey game the way Lane Hutson does. This is why I said when the Canadiens made that move for Dobson, and I was all for it, and I understand they had to give him that contract to make the deal happen, so I get that too, that I wish there would have been an agreement in principle so that it could be announced as of at July 1st or after with Lane Hutson beforehand, because once again, and it might not happen, and they might not give it to him, and he might not sign for that much, but Lane Hutson and his agent and his group have all the reason in the world, if they wanted to ask for more than Noah Dobson's getting.
I agree. So the original comparable would have been Jake Sanderson up in Ottawa. Well, that's a couple years ago. You know, the Jake contract's a couple years ago, and I actually had started preparing the paperwork on that before, I got let go there. So that doesn't surprise me, but that would be the comparable. And now the market's gone up. It hasn't gone down. The market's gone up. So I agree with you. No, Dobson's a good player. He's going to help this team a lot. He is. He's going to help this team a lot. But you could see, I'll just say this. I'll never forget doing the show with you the night he got acquired. And I said, offensively, all good. Puck movement, all good. There's a lot to like about his game. Where he's going to have problems, and the fans are going to have to get used to it, defending from the top of the circle to the icing line in his own zone. You saw it tonight. And this was not an A-level Pittsburgh Penguin team. He had trouble. He had trouble defending. And they're going to have – Stefan Robidow's got a lot of work they're going to have to do with him. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. He's a very useful player. He's better than what Montreal had when it comes to secondary offense from the back end. Definitely. But did you see Lane Hutson not being there tonight? You did. Did you see Caden Gooley not being there tonight? You did. Did you see Alex Carrier not being there tonight? Yes, you did. They missed those guys in the back end. They did.
What did you think of Struvel's performance, considering that Arbor Xhekaj has looked great so far at Pro Camp? Everyone's talking about the battle for the 6th spot on D for the Montreal Canadiens. Did Struble impact the game enough so that Xhekaj has to come in and say, okay, you know what? I got to be lights out next game?
Not lights out, but Xhekaj's going to have to put on a show. I'm sure he's playing against Philadelphia tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so.
And so he's going to have to measure up and probably take it one notch higher, but he doesn't have to play superhuman. He's got to play within himself. I thought Jaden was solid, consistent, and steady tonight, which is what he needs to do as a depth defenseman.
There's a new thing on YouTube that came out. I don't know when, but it came out. It's a new thing, and it's called the hype button. And so, you can hype the video by pressing the hype button on YouTube. We would definitely appreciate it, and we thank you very much for that. Once again, we also thank our sponsors for bringing you the Sick Podcast absolutely for free, because they're the ones who are paying for it. And one of those sponsors is Accent Insurance Solutions. All insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product. Right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. Visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. The number to call is 514-363-3636. Also, Playground. You haven't really played poker until you play it at Playground. Voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games, and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and World Series of Poker Circuit. Don't miss your shot at the world record Bad Beat Jackpot, now closing in at $1 million just minutes from downtown Montreal across the Mercier Bridge. This is Playground. By the way, thank you everyone for noticing on the YouTube chat. I'm getting a lot of, hey, has Tony lost weight? His face looks slimmer. The good news is Tony has lost 21 pounds in the last 2 months. The bad news is 59 more to go. All right, okay. Pierre?
You look great, by the way. You do.
I can look a lot better, but I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you. All right, okay. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins roster now, if we can, and we'll bring it up. And I know, Pierre, by the way, I want to mention it, that you're going to be a big part of Penguins broadcast this year, doing some pregame and postgame, and it's not going to interfere with Pierre's schedule with us, so you have no need to worry. At forward, you talked about Braz scoring that beautiful five-hole goal in the shootout and showing a lot of calm and poise. He had Mantha on his right. He had Heinen on his left. I really like Braz tonight, by the way, Pierre. Novak was in between Puustinen and Raphael Harvey-Pinard. Kapanen had Hayes on his right and Fabry on his left. Kindle had Imama on his right and Samuel Poulin on his left. What a fight between Samuel Poulin and Jared Davidson. We'll get to that in just a minute. On defense, Graves and Clifton, Shea and Dumba, Pickering and Brunick, and in goal, Blomqvist and Murashov. Pierre, Harrison Brunick,
the real deal.
In the second round, 44th overall in 2024. Real deal. I think he's going to end up being a top 2 defenseman on the Pittsburgh Penguins if he makes the lineup. This guy's unbelievable.
The only caution he's extremely good. He's unbelievable offensively. He really reads the play well. He knows when to jump. He knows when to back off. He had a nice assist on the power play goal that Puustinen set up, obviously. But to me, Braz ends up scoring on the one-timer, but it all started with Brunick. Tony, they're not going to be a great team. They're going to be adequate, as long as they keep Crosby and they keep Russ and they keep Evgeny Malkin and Christopher Letang. But if any of those guys start to get moved, this team's going to go backwards in a hurry. If I were Pittsburgh, I'd be seriously thinking about, how do we make sure that this guy's ready to hit the ground running when we're really, really relevant? I don't know if playing him in a top 4 situation this year would be a perfect thing for him, but we'll see. But he's an NHL player. There's no question. I thought he was the best defenseman for Pittsburgh tonight.
I thought he was absolutely fantastic. By the way, I mentioned that the bad beat at Playground is about $1 million. It's actually $1.3 million. So I stand corrected, and I thank Kevin Gumbley for giving me that information. All right, okay. Why don't we take a look at the score sheet now, courtesy of The Score. So in the first period, it was Brat's power play goal with Jared Davidson in the box, by the way. It went from Brunick to Braz to Puustinen, back to Braz, and he's basically in the slot here, and he goes upstairs on Samuel Montembeault, glove side. Heck of a shot, Pierre.
That's a big time shot. The genesis of Braz is pretty interesting. He's a kid that went to the University of Minnesota, couldn't find his way there for whatever reason. He ends up going to play for David Carl at the University of Denver, scores a huge goal for Denver to get them into the national championship game, which they eventually win. And, Pittsburgh stuck by this guy, and I think they were wise to do that. I'd be surprised if he's not playing on their team this year. Very surprised.
He's very, very good. I was very impressed by him. There's no doubt about it. Pierre, it doesn't show up here, but once again, we talked about that fight. Now, we talked about Demidov getting hit, Pierre. Mm-hmm. So Clifton hits Demidov in the first period. He falls to the ice, and Oliver Kapanen's on the ice, looks over, watches, doesn't do anything. And not to say it's his game, but one of the things you want to have, Pierre, and all the good teams that have won the Stanley Cup, or I think most of them in the last couple of decades, they've had that wolf pack mentality, right? They've had some either, you touch one of our guys and everyone jumps in. It's preseason, but it didn't happen with Kapanen. Later on, Fabry hits Demidov, and he falls to the ice. Anderson goes to rough him up, by the way, and says to Fabry, "Hey, you want to go?" And Fabry wanted no piece of him.
No, that's not his game either.
No, but in the second period, Poulin hits Belzil, and Davidson says, no, you have to answer the bell for that. He fights Poulin. I thought Davidson started strong and finished strong, and I thought Poulin was pretty good in between. That was a pretty good tilt, Pierre.
That's a courageous fight from both those guys. I had the honor of coaching Patrick Poulin, Samuel Poulin's father, and his dad was a tough guy too and extremely strong. I can tell you that right now. Patty was a really strong kid. I had him at 19.
You had him in Hartford, right?
I think he had 20 goals for us when he was 19 years old.
Wow.
I mean, he played really well for us. But he's a tough kid. I had a lot of respect for Patty. He always carried himself like such a pro. And Sammy's a little bit the same way. Obviously, he hasn't had the same success as his father. I think that Davidson Poulin thing's a carryover from the American Hockey League.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I do. And it's not because they've had history before.
Yeah.
But they're two guys that know they've played against each other. They know they're fighting for jobs right now. It hasn't been an easy trek for Sammy. And Davidson's looking at the numbers saying, I got to do something to get the attention of the coaches. And he did. And I thought he did a great job. I thought both guys did a great job.
You know what? I would imagine also that Davidson, who wants to make the team, and Florian Jackai has been very good in camp thus far, Pierre. Yeah. He probably made his way to the arena tonight saying, you know what, if the opportunity presents itself and I drop my gloves, I'm going to do it because I have to impress the Canadiens brass. If you want to get on the action, any sport, and yesterday was a great day in the National Football League, and tonight as well, of course, with the Ravens in action, with the National Hockey League regular season around the corner. It kicks off on the 8th of October. You can go all the way with Betway, get a free bet up to $200. First bet loses. You scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older, and please play responsibly. Some of you are probably watching the podcast for the very first time. Some of you are probably regulars, whether you're a regular or you're a first-time watcher / listener. Thank you very much. You've probably heard this before, but if you haven't, we're going to tell you a lot over the course of the year. The Sick Podcast announced a couple of weeks ago that we're opening up a French language division of the Sick Podcast. And we rented a studio in Ville-Saint-Laurent. It's being renovated as we speak. We cut no corners with this studio. I think people are going to be blown away. I think it's safe to say that it's going to be one of the nicest studios the province has ever seen. Maybe one of the nicest in the country, as a matter of fact. So we're going all in, as they say. And we've decided to bring our French listeners and our French viewers, out of a tremendous amount of respect for them, we've decided to bring them Le Sick Podcast avec Tony Marinaro. So just like the English one goes at 10 p.m. weeknights, the French one will go weekdays at 10 a.m. And you can subscribe. And it's if you're already on this YouTube channel, it will be the same YouTube channel. So you'll have the mix of the French and English, where we bring the French and English together. We have two separate podcasts, but all on the same channel. So tell your friends about it. And we have some great collaborators coming up on that program. We've already announced that Pierre Lebrun of TSN and The Athletic will be a collaborator on Le Sick Podcast en français and the Sick Podcast here in English. We already announced that Anthony Martineau, who has been covering the Montreal Canadiens for the last 3 years as a reporter, will join me 3 times, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings on Le Sick Podcast en français. And earlier today, we also announced Arnaud Gascon-Nadon will be my football analyst for CFL, for NFL, and he's also going to take part in various sports debates that we're going to have. So we have many more announcements over the next couple of days, and stay tuned for that. Pierre, the Montreal Canadiens don't get a goal in the second, but they get a goal in the third. Let's bring it up. And it's Owen Beck. There's a penalty to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Graves was in the box. His penalty comes to an end. Matheson to Machar, who was dangling Pierre, and he took a shot. There was a save, a rebound to Beck, another save, and his second crack at it, another rebound, and he scores. Pierre, Philip Machar is going to have to do more over the course of a game, but Machar looked really, really good on that play. And he looked really good with Owen Beck. They got something together, Pierre.
No, they do. There's no question. I like what you said. Farrell, Beck, and Machar are obviously a line that may start the season in Laval. That being said, I liked how Owen Beck fought for his ice there. I liked the skill level and the speed and the creativity of Machar. There was a lot to like on that one play in particular. But again, do I see them, all three of them, making the Montreal Canadiens this year? I don't. Could one of them make it out of camp? Maybe. But I don't see all three of those guys making the team at the same time.
No, I don't think so, Pierre. No, there's no doubt about it. I don't think so at all. But I'll say this. I know what the Canadiens saw in Owen Beck when they drafted him, Pierre. I don't know if he'll ever be absolutely fantastic at the offensive side of the game, but he is reliable, Pierre. He's a hockey player. He's reliable. He's a safe player. He pays attention to detail. He works on his face-off. At one point, he was the best face-off man in the entire OHL. We saw him on the penalty kill, where I think he looked pretty comfortable as well. What can you tell us?
I hope he can turn out to be like Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Anthony Cirelli's
he's a tremendous player, and it took Anthony a while. And what people forget, because I did one of his first games in the NHL, he was behind Braden Point and Steven Stamkos, and they had Kucherov, so he didn't need to do anything offensively. He was there to play shutdown, and he did. He did a really good job. He played really deep in the lineup. They gave him a chance to get his offensive confidence. Took 2 or 3, 4 years even to get up there. And now, look, he played on Team Canada last year. John Cooper knows he's got to have him if they're going to win. So I'm not saying Beck's going to be as good as him, but there are a lot of the same characteristics. And if he can be anywhere near that, that'd be huge for Owen Beck and the Montreal Canadiens.
Pierre, is Philippe Machard a National Hockey League player going forward? Here's a guy who was a first-round pick for the Montreal Canadiens the year they drafted Juraj Slafkovsky. If memory serves me well, I believe they picked him 26th overall. Beck, I believe, went 33rd, and Slafkovsky first. And, of course, that same year, Lane Hutson went 62nd. But your thoughts on Philippe Machard going forward, Pierre?
It's a tough team for him to make, Montreal, that is, because you've already got Cole Caulfield, you already got Lane Hutson. Then you're saying, okay, you got to beat out Sean Farrell, and maybe Sean Farrell's not going to be in the team. It's not an easy team for him. You can't have that many small guys. That's part of the problem. So do I think he can be a guy that can play in the league? Yeah. Do I think he's a guy that's going to be an everyday player in the league? I don't, not right now. Not on this team. It's just this team's too good.
All right, okay, so now let's take a look at what happened in the shootout. If we can bring up the scoring. After Owen Beck ties it at 1, the game goes to overtime. Oh, by the way, before we get to the shootout, this is my bad. You talked about some great saves in overtime, Pierre. 2-on-1 Penguins, a pass from Shea to Hayes. What a glove save by Jacob Fowler. Dobson to Demidov, one-timer, left pad saved by Murashov. A 2-on-1 Evans to Matheson off the side of the net for Michael Matheson. Pierre, what a great overtime.
Yeah, no, it was a great overtime. You could see both teams were going for it. There was a lot of skill level, a lot of young skill, especially for Pittsburgh. But I thought both goaltenders are great. It's interesting, Tony. People say, oh, East Coast League. Murashov played most of the year last year in Wheeling, West Virginia. I was hearing stories about him at the beginning of last year, and people were telling me, you'll see this guy's going to play. Then I saw him play, and I was like, he's got a legitimate chance. And he looks small, but he's not as small as he looks in net. He's really athletic. And you got to remember now, he catches with his right hand. He's a silly sider. He doesn't catch with his left hand. He catches with his right hand, and he fools a lot of shooters. I have not seen too many young guys bait shooters like he can bait shooters to shoot into his glove. He's very good at it.
He definitely is very good at it. But Jacob Fowler, Pierre, we saw Samuel Montembeault make a pretty big save in this game. We saw all the goalies, by the way, make some pretty good saves in this game. But, man, to think of Fowler making that save at that time when it's a 2-on-1 and Shea goes around and, you know what, the pass is right along the ice to Hayes, and you're thinking, you know what? This is a goal that's going to beat Jacob Fowler because it's a bang-bang play in OT. He's all alone. He's in front. He's receiving the pass. This is a goal. For him to make that save in that moment, I get it. I know it's a preseason game. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, and you know what? You can make the argument right now that Avery Hayes is the hottest player the Pittsburgh Penguins have on their team. He had 4 goals in their rookie tournament in Buffalo. He had a phenomenal tournament. He was great. And so he's riding a big hot streak and a lot of confidence. And I just saw Jacob Fowler move from his right to his left and shut that thing down like it was no big deal. And that's how he plays, Tony. That's what I've been trying to tell you and your viewers. I've watched this kid practice a lot. I've watched him play a ton. That's his thing. He's unflappable at key times in games. It reminds me so much of Brodeur, so much.
You know, you talked about Machar probably not making this team because of the offensive depth and the core, right? And you need, like you said, Pierre, you need different ingredients to make a pretty good cake, right? You can't only put vanilla extract and vanilla extract and vanilla extract and vanilla extract. You got to put other stuff, right, in the cake. And with the Canadiens' young core, with Suzuki and Caulfield and Slafkovsky and Demidov and Michael Hage going forward, and the list goes on and on, be hard to imagine a Philip Machar on this team. It would also be hard to imagine, Pierre, because of some small players on the Montreal Canadiens, a Brendan Gallagher, a Lane Hutson, a Cole Caulfield, an Alex Newhook, who's 5'11" as well. A Brendan Gallagher. It would be hard to imagine a Sean Farrell on this team as well, Pierre, going forward.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm
agree.
wrong.
100% agree. It's not a knock on those players. Look, I've known Sean Farrell and his family for a long time. He's a really gifted kid. He's had some amazing games, both in the Olympics and in the American League, and obviously at Harvard when he was at Harvard. But you saw what happened when they played Washington, Tony. You watched it, I watched it. We did shows after every game. You can only have so many small guys. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the league is right now. And because of what Florida's done, the copycat nature of what Florida's done is going around the league. And I can tell you right now, I watch most of these prospect tournaments, and guys aren't getting smaller. Guys are getting bigger. Teams are taking older, bigger players to try to do what the depth players of the Florida Panthers do. And that's going to be a problem if you have too many small guys on your team.
All right. Okay. So now let's go to the shootout that we promised, Pierre, and bring it up. So, Demidov, the fans were waiting for him, Pierre, but it looks like he probably made his move. He got in maybe a little bit too close, Pierre.
Yeah, well, the poke check came out from Mursov, and he was really good at it. It fooled Demidov. I don't think Demidov was expecting the poke check in that situation.
All right, okay. Mantha gets stopped as well. And then you have Patrick Laine, who misses. Novak gets stopped. And Farrell, who takes a shot.
The carom shot.
And Mursov makes the save, and then it goes just up and over him, and he loses sight of the puck, and it's able to go in. It's one of those blooper goals, of course. You see it in every sport. You'll also see some of those in soccer every now and then. Braz, like you said, with a lot of calm and a lot of poise, he goes 5-hole on Farrell. Machar with a great move and a great stop by Mursov. Hayes with a great move and a great stop by Fowler. And Oliver Kapanen, Pierre, right-handed shot, fake forehand, lift the skate, go backhand, just slide it in. That was smooth, Pierre. That was a beautiful, beautiful shootout goal.
Yeah, it was a hockey sense play because he watched Demidov go, he watched Laine go, he watched Farrell go, and he watched Machar go. He watched all of the guys in front of him, and he says, I know what I'm going to do to this guy. I'm going to hang him out to dry. And that's exactly what he did. And it was a thing of beauty. He attacks down the left side of the ice. He cuts back to his right and then cuts back to his left. It's just a thinking man's goal. It's a beautiful piece of skill. And, they might have found something really special in this guy, Kapanen. And they really look at Tony, that Swedish league where he played last year in Timrå. It's hard to get points in that league. I think he played 32 or 33 games there. He had 35 points. He was better than a point a game player in that league. That's hard to do in that league. It's really hard to do.
It really is really hard to do. So, Pierre, going forward, we talked about Michael Hage, all right? Everyone knows that the Canadiens are hoping that this is going to be the best year of Kirby Dach's career, which will be the final year of his 4-year contract that pays him just short of $3.4 million per year. And the Canadiens are going to cross their fingers that for the first time in a long time that Kirby Dach will be healthy. If Kirby Dach is unable to deliver, the Canadiens are going to be looking for maybe a long-term solution or a short-term solution in time for Michael Hage, and when he's going to probably be at his best, probably 3-4 years from now. Can Kapanen be that guy? Here's a guy who, of course, they played him at center. He is a centerman. He also played wing at one point last year. Do you see more of a center? Do you see more of a winger? Do you see more of a second liner? Or do you see more of a third liner? And why?
I'd like to see a little bit more time with him playing against bigger guys, but I see him as a centerman because he can process a game really well, and he's not a liability in his own zone. The physical nature of a playoff series is something I would like to see him have to go through. I know he did it in Laval, but that's a different beast to try to slay. Here's the thing on Michael Hage, and I'm just telling, this is not to knock the kid. The Big Ten was down last year. It was not a very good league. They lost a lot of players to the NHL. This year, the Big Ten's a way different beast. They got a lot of NHL guys in there. You know, they got a lot of guys that are going to be first rounders or already are first rounders. The competition level for Michael Hayes this year is going to be up significantly compared to where it was a year ago. I'm just telling you right now. Last year, the beast of the entire U.S. college system was the Hockey East. It from top to bottom was insane how hard those games are. And I went to probably 40 of them. And so that's why Jacob Fowler is what he is. That's why Cole Hutson is what he is. That's why Lane Hutson is what he is. I'm just telling you. So Michael Hayes got a big test coming up for himself this year. Big test coming up playing at Michigan.
Pierre, seeing as the Montreal Canadiens played the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, a Penguins team that obviously was without Crosby, without Malkin, without Letang. Sidney Crosby's name has come up over the last several months. As a matter of fact, it came up even last year. At one point, Yvon Lambert went on a show and said, hey, I happened to be in an event, and Kent Hughes came up to me and asked me if I would make a trade to acquire Sidney Crosby and then what I would give up. And I said, of course, Kent, I would. And I'd give up a lot for Sidney Crosby. And that's when it all started. Then it died down after Crosby signed his 2-year contract extension. And then, of course, Pat Brisson and Sidney Crosby, they both spoke to Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic a couple of weeks ago. And Pat Brisson, Sidney Crosby's agent extraordinaire in the National Hockey League, said, you know what? Never say never. Anything is possible. And then added, all I could say is that, you know, Sidney Crosby should be in the playoffs. He passed his message, Pierre, because Sidney Crosby's missed the playoffs for the last 3 years. And, you know, you'd have to think a competitor like that, it's absolutely killing him that he has. Even though he's already won 3 Stanley Cups, this guy wants to be in the dance all the time. And in his final 2 years of his contract, Sidney Crosby doesn't want to miss the playoffs and doesn't want to end his National Hockey League career if this is his last contract, missing the playoffs 5 years in a row, should they miss the playoffs the next couple of years. But I brought up a name last year on the podcast, Pierre, and I said, you know what? For a lot of people, Sidney Crosby is the dream, and I get it, mind you. You know what? He's still pretty good at the age that he is at 38 years old. But maybe it would be easier to acquire an Evgeny Malkin, who has 1 more year left in him, would probably want to play with Marty St. Louis. Ivan Demidov looks up to him a lot. He could be a great mentor for Ivan Demidov, maybe. Pierre, your thoughts on Crosby and Malkin and whether or not you think they're both going to finish the year in Pittsburgh?
Sid would be a better fit than Gino, but Gino still would be a good fit. He's got game left. There's no question. He doesn't have as much game as he obviously once did. Sid still's got significant game. Sid can be a 100-point scorer. It's a lot like John Tavares in Toronto. People are knocking Johnny T, and I'm telling you right now, JT had a huge year last year, and he'll have another huge year this year. He's got plenty of game left, like Sid does.
Pierre, these guys weren't drafted, the Crosbys, the Malkins, the Tavares of the world, first and second for no reason, right?
No, well, that's exactly right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, so it's not like they were bad players when they were coming out. Here's just I don't know if both Crosby and Malkin will finish the season in Pittsburgh. I think the one thing that softened the blow last year for Sidney was playing in the Four Nations event. I think that helped a lot because he was with all those guys. They won in Boston. They obviously, it was an emotional thing. He's tight with Nathan McKinnon. So I think that kind of softened the blow. The fact that he's going to be part of the Olympics is a cool thing for him. But I can tell you right now, it's not the Stanley Cup. It's a way different thing. The Stanley Cup's a Stanley Cup. It's an amazing thing. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Supposedly, Pierre, he told the players during the Four Nations face-off, guys, look, I don't think I'm going to win another Stanley Cup. I'd really love to win this tournament.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the Stanley Cup's a way different deal. I'm just telling you, the Olympics are great. Four Nations are great. I don't think they'll be able to soften the blow this year. If they got a bad team and they don't do very well, I got to think they're going to explore all options on Sidney.
I'm going to take it a step further, and I think you just said it, but I'll take it a step further and say this. If they have a bad year and they're nowhere near the playoffs come trade deadline, I think Sidney Crosby and his agent will ask for a trade. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins will accommodate, and at that point, when they do it, the rebuild will finally start again in Pittsburgh, and Malkin will go next, and maybe even Letang, and that's the way it's going to go down, Pierre. I believe that. And you know what? As great as those guys were, they had their run. They won their 3 Stanley Cups. I think it would be great for the players to move on, and it would be great for the Penguins to start the rebuild.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with any of that at all. Here's one other thing that I think is really important on this. Sidney is loyal as a day is long. And everybody's got a godfather in this league. Every player does, every coach does, every GM. You always got one guy you really trust. His godfather's Mario Lemieux. I'm just telling you. He lived at Mario's house. I know how much respect he has for Mario. I know how much respect Patty Brisson has for Mario. So it's one of those deals where, Mario could get involved too, because it sounds to me like there's going to be an ownership change again in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
It's one of those stories that it got covered in the summer, but most people were away. And it would be interesting if Mario got significantly involved again at an ownership level, just what would happen with Sidney. I think that will be the one thing that could determine exactly what happens.
Wow. Well, it's obviously going to be an interesting story, Pierre, that so many people in the hockey world and even outside the hockey world will be paying attention to. Two huge names, two of the greatest of all time, Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid are going into a year with all eyes on them. Both, Sidney Crosby with 2 years left on his contract, but sick and tired of missing the playoffs, and Connor McDavid in the final year of his contract. And a lot of people are wondering, is he going to re-sign with the Edmonton Oilers? He hasn't yet. Or is he also going to play out his contract and go to unrestricted free agency? Or will he tell the Oilers, I'm not going to be signing, and then the Oilers trade him? What an interesting year it's going to be, not only for Montreal Canadiens fans to watch and cover their favorite team, of course, but also throughout the entire National Hockey League. We have so many great stories coming up here. Pierre, we touched on, I think, most players. Is there a player tonight that you said, you mentioned Dobson, and you said, look, I don't want to go too far. It's a preseason game, but you saw some of the shortcomings in Dobson's game. And you said, look, the Canadiens power play, it's not the same. As good as Noah Dobson is, it's not the same without Lane Hutson. By the way, one of the things I saw, Pierre, was Dobson was cranking it quite a bit on the power play. Lane Hutson obviously is much more of a distributor of the puck. Dobson's got a harder shot than Lane Hutson, I believe. But Lane Hutson loves to pass the puck. He loves to be creative. I want to get back to Liney, though, right, Pierre? A guy who's got such an incredible shot, it's not a slam dunk that he's going to be on the first wave of the power play for the Montreal Canadiens. Some believe he will be. Some believe he won't be. Where would you have him?
Well, right now, I want Suzuki out there. I want Caulfield out there. I want Slavkovsky out there. Obviously, Lane Hutson I want out there, so it leaves room for one more person. So I don't know. I don't know right now, Patrick. If he's
it's between Liney and Demidov. We agree.
Yeah, that's the one difference is, I would just say this: Liney's shot is more lethal right now. Demidov's more creative right now. So
but if you put Liney where he wants to be, which is on the opposite side of his right-handed shot, he wants to be on the left side. That's Cole Caulfield's office. And if you put Liney there, you take Caulfield out of his office. So you know what? Why don't you just have 2 units? You're going to have the 2 units. Put Caulfield on one, Pierre, and put Liney on the other.
Yeah, that's what I think you're going to have to do. There's no question.
Okay, but I have a question for you. Last year, Marty St. Louis went with a quote-unquote hierarchy. You know that as well as I do.
Oh, I was mad.
You were mad. You were mad. You were like, put Lane Hutson on the first wave of the power play. You said it from the preseason. It took about a month and a half into the season, maybe a little bit more. And we got the feeling, look, Pierre, if you saw it and I saw it and everybody watching saw it, chances are Marty St. Louis saw it too. But you kind of get the feeling he wanted to go with a hierarchy and he didn't want to give the kid too much too soon and said, you know what? You're going to have to wait. Made him wait a month and a half. Okay, boom, he gave it to him. If he felt that way last year, will he feel that way with Demidov and make him wait a month and a half too? Or will he realize that, you know what, I shouldn't have waited a month and a half for Hutson, and maybe if I would have put him on the first wave right away, we probably would have made the playoffs before the last game of the season. Can't do that can't do that mistake again.
I'm going to tell you right now, they better not be messing around thinking, well, we're going to do a tryout for our older guys, because here's the problem. I think Detroit's going to be better this year. That's a problem. Detroit's in their division. Ottawa's going to be better this year. I truly believe that. I don't think Toronto's going to take a step backwards. So right there, that's the Bermuda Triangle right there. And you count Detroit. That's tough. Then you look at Florida. Are they going to miss the playoffs, Tony? I don't think so. Tampa? I don't think so. So if you're Montreal, you got to be like, whoa, wait a second. We better not mess around here.
I'm willing to bet that Washington will have a setback. Does the setback mean they're going to miss the playoffs? I'm not going to go that far, but I don't see them repeating what they did.
So let's just say the Metro only gets 3 teams.
Yes.
And the Atlantic gets 5.
I hear you.
That's what I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
You better not mess around if you're going to be the 5th team, because it's going to be life and death. Because I think the one team that's going to bite everybody in the derriere is Columbus. Columbus is way better than people think. I'm
if we take a look at teams that missed the playoffs last year, and you're right to mention Columbus, you'd have to think the Rangers will have a bounce back season.
Well, I think they will, but here's what, what did they do to make their defense better? I know Scott Morrow. He played with my son for 5 years at Mid-Fairfield. I helped him go to the University of Massachusetts.
They didn't make it better. As a matter of fact, it's worse with Keandre Miller.
So all I'm saying is I don't know if their defense is better. And if their defense isn't better, that's a big problem.
Their coaching staff better?
Yes.
I agree with you.
That's an elite staff. David Quinn is a really good coach with defensemen. Joe Sacco is a tremendous coach on the penalty kill. And Mike Sullivan is an outstanding coach, especially with tactics.
You have 3 guys who have been head coaches, Pierre. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's probably a top 3 bench in hockey.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely right near the top. There's no question. Joe was in Colorado and Boston. David was in New York and San Jose, and he also coached BU and the U.S. National Team Development Program. And Michael, Mike got trained by John Tortorella. So you add all that in, this is huge experience.
Mike Sullivan's a fantastic coach, I think.
It's just a huge experienced staff. It is. But you can be the best coach in the league. If you don't have good defense, you're not going to win as much as you think, even though you do have a pretty good goalie in Shesterkin, and Jonathan Quick's more than a capable backup right now. But I don't know if they did enough, the Rangers. I'm telling you that, that's the one team they needed to do more, and I don't know if they did enough to start the year on a huge winning streak.
Pierre, Demidov last year, when I went to Washington and I saw it, I was there for game 2, probably 7 or 8 rows off the ice. And I'm I had a really good view. I almost made it my mission that night to just watch Demidov the whole time, because he had played 2 regular season games. He had played the 1 game in the playoffs. So there I am for game 2. And I'm I want to see, if he's ready for prime time, where he's falling short. And the one thing I noticed was that, he got all muscled quite a bit. He lost some one-on-one battles. He got hit quite often. And when he got hit, he fell to the ground. And it's not uncommon for young players, Pierre, who, probably 3 or 4 years in the league, it'll take them a while to fill out and get bigger and get stronger. What advice would you give him so that, besides, get rid of the puck faster, what advice would you give him just to be aware of that he's going to be a target?
Be more of a give and go player. We dealt with this with Yarmer. Yarmer was so good, and where Yarmer got better, he learned a lot from Brian Trottier. Brian was there with us playing, and so there were a lot of nights where he'd play with Brian, and Brian would always talk to him about being a better give and go player, and it really worked. And then when we got Ronnie Francis from Hartford, it made a massive difference. They put Yarmer with Ronnie a lot, and that made a huge difference for our team. The give and go game for Yager was great. If I were Demidov, that's why, the center ice position on that line, if he plays with Laine and they're looking for a center, the guy's got to be able to be give and go. And if he can't, that's going to be a problem.
Pierre, Oliver Kapanen, you talked about him. You said you thought that he was the most consistent player for the Canadiens tonight, on a line with Demidov on his right and Laine to his left. When Marty St. Louis is walking home tonight, I don't even know if he's driving, because he lives a couple of blocks away from the Bell Center. Well, whether he's walking or driving, when he makes his way back to his place tonight and he's thinking about Kapanen, what's the conclusion that he's drawing, Pierre?
He'll be happy. He'll say he took another step forward. That's good. Now he's got to keep improving. But that was a good first dress rehearsal. I thought it was a good dress rehearsal for both teams. Those are tough games. Pittsburgh flew in today. Montreal obviously has had a pretty competitive camp. And now it's time to get after it. They're going to play a back-to-back. They play Philly tomorrow at home, obviously, but still, it's a good test. Philadelphia's trying to come out of the gate with a new coaching staff, and they want to be firm on it. So we'll see. And I can tell you, look, Rick Tockett's a good coach, and he'll do a good job there. They're going to be well orchestrated. They'll play a heavy game, And it'll be a good test for Montreal. But if I'm Marty St. Louis, I'm feeling good about the way that Kapanen played. And I'm really happy about Jake Evans tonight. I'm really happy about, Owen Beck tonight. I'm really happy about Davidson and what he did tonight. So there was a lot that I would have been happy with tonight if I were him.
Pierre, and I'm happy with you, not only tonight, but every night. Thanks for doing this, man. I'll talk to you soon.
I love it. Thank you.
Same place?
What's that?
Tomorrow night, same time, same place after
the only one problem tomorrow, I'm invited to speak at the State House in Boston.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll be able to make it at the
That's okay. Time. I'll get Max Lapierre in tomorrow night for you, and you and I will do this again on Thursday night after the Canadiens.
Thursday night is a go.
Fantastic. We'll talk to you then, Pierre. Thank you very much. All right. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. It's also brought to you by Playground and Tibi and Accent Insurance Solutions and Betway. And Pierre McGuire was brought to you by Restaurant Vago Italien on Green Avenue, corner of de Maisonneuve. Once again, I was there a couple of nights ago. It's a fine, fine Italian restaurant. Special thanks to Sammy and Agnello at Master Control. Special thanks to all of you for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place, with Maxime Lapierre right after the Canadiens and the Flyers. In case you missed it, the Canadiens, on a goal by Owen Beck, tied the game at 1. They went to overtime. Some great stops by both goalies at both sides, one of which was Jacob Fowler for the Montreal Canadiens. The game goes to a shootout, and on goals by Farrell and Oliver Kapanen, the Montreal Canadiens win by a score of 2-1 in a shootout. Doesn't matter. It's preseason, but you'd still rather win than lose. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. The Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Boom.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.